Recently, the topic of nearly half of China's major cities are sinking has surged on Chinese social media, prompted by a paper titled A National Scale Assessment of Land Subsidence in China's Major Cities, published on April the 18th in the scientific journal Science. The paper, authored by a research team led by Zhu Rui, an associate researcher at South China Normal University, utilized satellite observation technology to measure the elevation changes of the land surface in 82 major cities, which account for 3/4 of China's urban population from 2015 to 2022. The results indicate that 45% of these cities are subsiding at a rate faster than 3 millimeters per year, and 16% are subsiding at a rate faster than 10 millimeters per year, posing risks to 270 million people. This phenomenon is not confined to eastern coastal cities, but also affects some cities in the north, west, and southwest. The paper also forecasts that by 2120, due to the combined effects of land subsidence and sea level rise, as much as 26% of China's coastal lands, hosting approximately 11% of the coastal population, will have an elevation lower than sea level. Zhu Rui remarked that despite only a small portion of China's land experiencing subsidence, given the country's urban population exceeding 900 million, even a fraction of sinking land could pose significant threats to urban life. The research team conducted an analysis of the measured subsidence in these cities and potential influencing factors such as the weight of buildings and changes in groundwater levels. While the causes of subsidence are mentioned ambiguously in the paper, factors such as groundwater extraction, building weight, and urban infrastructure development are implicated. Additionally, natural factors like geological environments and bedrock depth are also considered, but the issue of extensive groundwater extraction is left unaddressed. The article estimates that land subsidence has caused China losses exceeding 7.5 billion yuan, around $1 billion annually. However, it is difficult to determine exactly which losses are included in this calculation. Senior geological engineer Henry Lee stated that extensive land subsidence in urban areas is a macroscopic overall response within a regional scope. In local areas, it may manifest as slow sinking or sudden ground collapse, resulting in significant losses. This is because the compaction of strata can easily lead to the formation of voids in local areas, or the loss of water or sediment from the voids, resulting in reduced bearing capacity and leading to collapse. Research papers by Chang and other scholars in 2014 suggested, before the collapse occurs, abnormal phenomena such as subsidence and cracks often appear underground, which can be used to provide early warning of potential ground collapse. Land subsidence can cause problems such as building foundation settlement, house cracking, damage to underground pipelines, well casing uplift, and exacerbation of flooding and storm surge disasters. Let's look at a few cases. On April 18th, serious road collapse and cracking occurred in the surrounding area of Hengda Shanshui City in Yuzhong County in Lanzhou City of Gansu Province. An owner living in this neighborhood, Mr. Liu, said that the ground collapse in this incident was over 500 meters long and over 1 meter deep. Due to the subsidence of road surface, all the storefronts along the street were affected. Since 2019, the neighborhood and surrounding roads have experienced continuous collapses, and there were even cars falling into them. Moreover, the buildings developed in the first phase of the neighborhood have also experienced collapses, with the most serious being building number 1. Since the beginning of this year, the entire building number 1, including the area outside the main gate, has been surrounded by ground collapses, and the speed and degree of collapse have been increasing continuously. As a result, many owners have moved out. In recent years, Lanzhou has seen a series of subsidence accidents. In December 2022, the Dongshakou neighborhood in Qilihe district, Lanzhou City, also experienced foundation subsidence, with cracks and deformations in the building walls and even difficulty opening the unit doors. Residents living here feel anxious and insecure, as if they are living in a dangerous building. It's affecting our lives. I'm so scared. People are really afraid. I'm really scared too. Living up here, you see how the bottom of our building has cracked like this. It's really frightening. Even the walls at home have started to crack.
Yeah, the cracks in our building are getting bigger and bigger. The unit doors won't even open, and people can't get out from inside. So we're really worried about the situation we're living in.
In 2016, Lanzhou experienced multiple road collapses within a single day, with vehicles falling into pits and pedestrians getting injured. On April the 15th, a road collapse occurred in Hohhot, Inner Mongolia, resulting in a pit approximately 10 meters wide and 4 meters steep, accompanied by the sound of flowing water. That bus was parked by the roadside the whole time, and just as it started moving, the ground where it had been parked suddenly collapsed. I was only 20 meters away from the bus, so I hit the brakes. A paper published in 2023 by Ying Chengsheng and others mentioned that there are 5 obvious subsidence centers in Hohhot urban area, with an average annual subsidence rate of 3.65 millimeters and an average cumulative subsidence of 15.5 millimeters, mainly due to excessive groundwater extraction. On January 20th of this year, a parking lot collapse occurred in Tongling, Anhui Province, with cars sinking into the sinkhole and some sheds collapsing. According to official data released by the Chinese government in 2019, by the end of 2015, more than 50 cities at the prefecture level or above in 21 provinces had experienced ground subsidence, with the number of cities doubling compared to the end of 2010. In 2015, the area with a ground subsidence rate exceeding 50 millimeters per annum was 12,400 square kilometers. The area with a cumulative ground subsidence exceeding 200 millimeters covered approximately 92,000 square kilometers, with the largest cumulative ground subsidence point located in Tanggu, Tianjin. As of 2015, areas with the largest cumulative subsidence exceeding 3 meters include Binhai New Area of Tianjin, Xi'an, and Taiyuan. Shanghai's cumulative subsidence was 2.98 meters. Among the sinking cities in China, Tianjin is the fastest sinking, with an average annual sinking rate exceeding 52 millimeters. The World Meteorological Organization released a report in 2023 mentioning that the average annual sea level rise from 2013 to 2022 was 4.62 millimeters. If the sinking rate of Tianjin and the sea level rise rate remain unchanged, large areas of land along the coast of Tianjin will be submerged in 50 years, with many areas having an elevation of only 1 to 3 meters. On May 31, 2023, several high-rise apartment buildings in the Country Garden neighborhood precinct in Tianjin's Bailitai town suddenly experienced sinking, tilting, wall detachment, and foundation cracking, prompting the emergency relocation of more than 3,800 residents. The collapse and deformation of the ground in the community and its surroundings resulted in a maximum subsidence of over 2 meters. Due to long-term excessive groundwater extraction, Tianjin has formed large-scale groundwater depression funnels. The depression funnel in Jingnan district, where the Country Garden neighborhood is located, formed around 2000. By 2017, the area enclosed by the 148-meter depth water level had reached 60 square kilometers. Monitoring data from well J7 near the Country Garden neighborhood showed that the water level dropped from 92 meters in 2006 to 145 meters in 2017, with an average annual decline rate of 4.8 meters. Henry Lee analyzed the relevant data and inferred the cause of the accident to be the excessive extraction of underground hot water from Wumishan Formation limestone in the area, leading to a decrease in regional water level. The limestone formation develops karst caves, which weaken due to the decrease in groundwater pressure. Under the pressure of overlying strata and high-rise buildings on the surface, underground rock layers experience collapse and subsidence. Recently, netizens have posted videos showing that the office building of Xiong'an New Area Administrative Committee, referred to by the Chinese government as a Millennium Project, is submerged in water. Some industry insiders believe it is related to ground subsidence. Renowned hydraulic engineering expert Wang Weiluo once wrote, "The Xiong'an New Area is located right next to Baiyangdian, the lowest point in North China Plain, geologically known as the Jizhong Depression. The Jizhong Depression is a rift valley-type basin with frequent tectonic movements, forming numerous complex fault zones. The upper layer of the Jizhong Depression consists of river sediments. It is well known that river sediments are relatively loose and more prone to subsidence in the absence of groundwater. Xiong'an is located on the western edge of the giant groundwater depression funnel in North China. Beijing, the capital of China, is also one of the fastest sinking cities." A research paper published in the journal Remote Sensing in May 2022 stated that Beijing has formed large-scale groundwater depression funnels and the entire city is sinking. The article pointed out that from April 2010 to December 2019, the subsidence rate in the research area Beijing was relatively high, ranging from minus 117.4 to plus 5.1 millimeters per year. The main areas of ground subsidence are located in Chaoyang District and Tongzhou District. The Beijing subway system has also deformed due to subsidence. Among the 15 subway lines, 6 lines have an average deformation rate exceeding 5 mm per year. The most significant deformation rate is on Line 1's eastern section, Batong Line, with an average deformation rate of 22.5 mm per year and a maximum deformation rate of 96.1 mm per year. The maximum deformation rates of Line 6 and Line 7 are 70.4 mm per year and 115.1 mm per year respectively. According to the 14th 5-year plan for geological disaster prevention and control in Beijing, by the end of 2021, subsidence in the Beijing Plain area have shown distribution in 2 major regions, north and south. The average annual subsidence rate is 8.73 millimeters. The highest subsidence rate observed in the Jingzhan Subsidence Center in Chaoyang District is 74.9 millimeters per year. The severe subsidence area with annual subsidence exceeding 50 millimeters covers an area of 16 square kilometers, with the largest cumulative subsidence in the Jingzhan area of Chaoyang reaching 2.3 meters. Professor Li Guoping, Deputy Dean of the School of Government Management at Peking University, told Caixin reporters that excessive groundwater extraction can lead to a significant drop in groundwater levels. From 1999 to 2013, the average groundwater level in Beijing dropped by 1 meter per year, and after the water level drops to a certain extent, it will cause land subsidence. Shanghai has also seen a heavily affected area. Over the years, there have been continuous incidents of subsidence events in tall buildings in Shanghai. The famous Shanghai Youth Club building once subsided by a full 6 centimeters in just over a year. The Lujiazui Financial and Trade Zone once subsided by 3 centimeters in a year. Experts pointed out that since 1921, the ground in the Shanghai area has subsided by more than 2 meters. With global warming causing the sea level along the Shanghai coast to rise continuously, predicted to rise by 5 to 7 centimeters by 2050, exacerbating the problem of land subsidence in Shanghai. The average ground elevation in Shanghai is only 4 meters, and in areas near the People's Park, it is only over 2 meters. With the Huangpu River rising more than 5 meters with each tide, if Shanghai subsides by another 2 meters, it will immediately be submerged. Xi'an, a city in China's central west, has also experienced subsidence. Earlier, the media reported that due to ground subsidence, Xi'an's symbolic ancient structure, the Bell Tower, had subsided by 395 millimeters. The Big Wild Goose Pagoda, with a history of more than 1,300 years, has also subsided by 1,198 millimeters and tilted to the northwest, almost becoming a leaning tower of Pisa. Most of the ground subsidence in Xi'an is occurring in urban and suburban areas. Since large-scale leveling measurements began in 1959, the current subsidence area has reached 158 square kilometers, with an area of 48 square kilometers experiencing subsidence of over 500 millimeters. There are 7 large subsidence funnels in the urban planning area. In recent decades, the primary causes of urban subsidence in China have been attributed to human activities. These include excessive groundwater extraction leading to subsidence and funnel collapse, particularly notable in the northern plains, and heightened surface pressure from urban construction, especially the proliferation of dense high-rise buildings, which is more prominent in major cities. In addition, natural factors such as urban areas with fault zones and basins, such as the Feng Shui rift system in Xi'an and Taiyuan, have also caused land subsidence. The main reason for the excessive extraction of groundwater in China is the accelerated urbanization process. When water resources cannot meet production and living needs, the government excessively extracts groundwater to meet the water demands. The Chinese government promotes urbanization essentially by plundering the wealth of the people through the real estate industry. According to data from the Blue Book of Real Estate released by the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences in 2017, land and tax account for about 70% of the total housing price. Ren Zeping, a well-known economist, described it as the government scraping off 60 to 80% of the cheese from housing prices. In addition, the income from land transfer accounts for more than 40% of the long-term fiscal revenue of local governments in China. The greed-driven pursuit of interests has led to various local governments in China to relentlessly develop real estate, utilizing various means to advance the so-called urbanization construction. The urban population in China increased from 172.5 million in 1978 to 920.7 million in 2022, marking a rise of 748.2 million. The urbanization rate of China's resident population was 17.9% in 1978 and reached 65.2% in 2022, an increase of over 47 percentage points in over 40 years. Data released by the Beijing municipal government reveals that from the year 2000 to 2020, the built-up area of Beijing's urban suburbs increased from 491 square kilometers to 1,469 square kilometers, with the resident population growing from 13.8 million to 21.9 million. According to the Beijing Water Resources Bulletin, in 2022, the average annual resident population of Beijing was 21.9 million, with per capita water resources of only 109 cubic meters, far below the internationally recognized extremely water-stressed alert line of 500 cubic meters. Beijing has long relied on groundwater as its main water source, with over half of its water coming from groundwater resources. Beijing's situation is a typical representative of urban development nationwide. The extraction of groundwater has increased. However, as the urban built-up area continues to expand, the area of hardened ground also increases, making it difficult for rainwater to infiltrate and replenish groundwater resources. Additionally, local governments, in order to raise land prices, promote the construction of so-called high-value riverview and lakeview properties. The renowned hydrologist Wang Weiluo analyzed the massive flood disaster in Zhengzhou on July 20th, 2021, stated that the local government, in pursuit of creating the most picturesque riverview properties in Zhengzhou, encroached upon the Jialu River channel. It altered the width of the river channel, causing it to fluctuate between wide and narrow, thereby restricting the river's capacity to pass waters during periods of flooding. This change also raised the water level, forcing the river water to overflow its banks and inundate the city. The resulting flood caused severe inundation of Line 5 of the Zhengzhou subway, with official figures indicating 14 deaths and 5 injuries. However, the public widely believes that the authorities have covered up the true facts. However, these floodwaters do not help replenish groundwaters because it is rushing by too quickly to infiltrate the ground. Another important factor leading to insufficient groundwater resources is the serious problems in the Chinese government's river management. For many years, the Chinese government has built a large number of hydroelectric power stations, reservoirs and dams, and disrupting the replenishment-discharge relationship between rivers and groundwater. The destruction of the groundwater system has resulted in a shortage of water resources and deterioration of water quality. The Chinese government generally maintains reservoirs at high water levels to improve the efficiency of hydroelectric power stations. However, during heavy rainfall, the floodgates are usually opened to ensure the safety of the dam. This has been a major cause of frequent floods in China over the years. The floods rush downstream rapidly, and because the waters spend less time on the surface, there is limited replenishment of groundwater. Wang Weiluo pointed out that Beijing's largest river is the Yongding River. In the 1950s, at the beginning of the Chinese Communist Party's rule, the average annual water volume of Yongding River was 2 billion cubic meters. He said by the 1980s, the water volume of the Yongding River was only 300 million cubic meters, a decrease of approximately 1.7 billion cubic meters. Over 100 reservoirs have been built on the Yongding River, which has increased the size of the lake and increased evaporation. He said that the northern regions of China have a problem, which is that the natural evaporation is greater than rainfall, and when the surface area of water increases, so does evaporation. If each reservoir evaporates a little, soon this water will be gone, plus each reservoir is used for irrigation, leaving insufficient waters for downstream. Additionally, severe surface water pollution has rendered many areas reliant on groundwater. Ma Jun, director of the Institute of Public and Environmental Affairs, stated that water source pollution has been widespread nationwide for many years, mainly caused by some illegal emissions from polluting enterprises. Once water sources are polluted, the subsequent treatment stages often escalate, leading to the formation of more harmful substances and creating a vicious cycle. Many local governments only focus on economic development, neglecting the protection and safety of water sources. Furthermore, China's environmental management is still not strict enough, with the cost of violations significantly lower. Many companies prefer to pay fines rather than invest in environmental protection, and many companies exceed emission standards. Under the perverse assessment model that measures performance by GDP, local governments, in pursuit of political achievements, pollution-causing enterprises seeking profits, indiscriminately discharge waste. To reduce costs, many polluting companies rarely equip pollution treatment facilities, and even if they do, they seldom use them. While local governments claim to protect the environment, their actual practice is to protect polluting enterprises. Water is cyclical, and pollution spreads with it. China's severe air pollution has led to frequent smog and dust storms in recent decades. Atmospheric precipitation is often heavily polluted even before it touches the ground. Surface emissions of pollutants, sewage, industrial and domestic waste, excessive use of fertilizers and pesticides in rural areas not only pollute surface water but also enter underground, contaminating the groundwater. Consequently, over-extraction of groundwater, rapid urban expansion, and environmental pollution are the main factors leading to subsidence. However, these are only surface factors. An underlying cause lies in the Chinese Communist Party's willingness to sacrifice the natural environment for economic gain.